Hey bookish friends, I am back with another cozy mystery reading vlog. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jules. I like to read, talk about books, share all my thoughts and things with you. This is another reading vlog where I am going to be reading the first in a series. These are books that I have acquired from my mother. So I do have a cozy mystery bookshelf tour, and I also have the first vlog that I did reading the first in a series. So this is my second round. So I did just complete a thriller reading vlog where I read 4 Darcy Coates books over the course of a week. So I am thriller booked out. So I do need a palette cleanser, and cozies are always my go-to for palette cleansers. So I thought this is the perfect time to start my next vlog. Okay, I had to change my angle and move a little bit because the sun is out and it's glaring on the books. So anyway, we're gonna roll with it. The 3 books that I'm gonna read for this vlog is Engaged in Death by Stephanie Blackmore, Death by Committee by Alex Morgan, and A Killer Read by Erica Chase. So each of these is going to meet a prompt for the March Mystery Madness, as I mentioned in my March TBR. The one I am going to start with is Engaged in Death. This is for the Dressed to the Nines prompt. After dumping her cheating fiance and canceling the wedding, Mallory Shepard can't bear another disaster. So when the former bride-to-be unexpectedly inherits Thistle Park, a ramshackle mansion in her ex's hometown of Port Quincy, it's a problem she can't afford. Literally. Abound with stray cats, peeling wallpaper, and nosy neighbors, Mallory is dying to sell it off once she finally fixes up both the place and her messy life. Turns out, Thistle Park has its charms. But the honeymoon phase is abruptly cut short when an unwanted visitor is found dead on the front lawn. Enlisting the help of her sister Rachel, Mallory vows to unveil the killer before she herself becomes married to the suspect list. So this is what I'm starting with today. It is Sunday, so we will see how far I get in it. So I did look it up, and this series only has 6 books in the series. And the 6th one was published in September of 2020. And she was putting those books out at least one a year. So I'm going to assume that she's done with this series. And there is no other, she has no other books. So I have not read from this author. So we will see how I like it. Hey friends, I am back with a cozy update. So I am about a little over 50% through this. I'm on page 182 and I'm enjoying it so far. So the main character Mallory, it starts with her and her fiance and soon to be mother-in-law at like a cake testing or like a catering company type testing thing. And the soon to be mother-in-law is just an awful person. She's very bossy. She wants things to be her way even though it's not her wedding. And so Mallory's just trying to bite her tongue and not say anything that she shouldn't say to her new mother-in-law. She's just an awful person, which I am very thankful. I have a wonderful mother-in-law. She is like my mother. So I feel bad for women who have to deal with hateful mother-in-laws or mother-in-laws that don't like them. They're supposed to be going to visit his grandma because she visits his grandma every Sunday. Instead, he takes her on this surprise car ride and shows her a plot and says that his mom bought them this plot and they can build the house. And she's like, I don't want to live here. They live in the city right now. And she's like, this is like an hour away from everyone and our friends, and this, I don't want to live here. Why would you just do this without asking me? So she's not happy about that. And when they get home, she has an envelope in the mail that has photos of her fiance with another woman, which we know from the back of the book that he says he's a cheater. She ends up acquiring a rundown mansion from the grandma. She breaks off the wedding. She has this rundown mansion and she thinks she's just going to live there because she doesn't have anywhere else to live right now. She was staying in a hotel and her sister came up to, you know, kind of cheer her up. They both move into this mansion. It's a sight. It's just run down and it needs a lot of work and they don't have the money to fix it up. Somebody with the energy company comes and is wanting to make an offer to buy the land because they're wanting to do some energy drilling work or something. But she remembered the grandma clearly saying that she did not want any part of the property going to the energy company. So she's like, no, get off my property. And then next thing you know, guy ends up dead on her front lawn. So her and the sister are suspects. So currently she's a lawyer at a firm where the mother-in-law is a client and gives them a lot of business. So her boss is basically like, I don't know what your beef is with them, but you need to figure it out because we can't lose her as a client. And she's like, well, I'm not going to rectify this because I am not going to marry him and I'm not giving them their mansion because it's mine. So there's a lot of like tension between that. And so he's threatening that she's probably going to lose her job. So in the meantime, she's trying to figure out what she's going to do for work. And in the back of her mind is trying to figure out if she could do wedding planning. They want to fix up the mansion and they think it would be a great place to like hold weddings, but obviously they need money to fix it up. And amidst all of this, people in the family believe that there's like hidden paintings or something in the house, in the mansion, that is worth a lot of money. And obviously she owns everything that's in that mansion, so they don't want her to have it if it really is there. They don't know if it is or not. So anyway, that's where we're at now, and I'm enjoying it. I think it's really fun. So at this point, it's definitely something, depending on how the rest of the other half of the book goes, that I would probably continue in the series. So I'll be back with an update later. Hello, good morning. I'm back with a cozy update. I did finish Engaged in Death last night, and yeah, I really liked this. So the last half of the book was basically her and her sister trying to figure out what they're going to do with the mansion. So the sister's like full force, like this is going to happen. She's like already out telling people, come see us, call me, let's get your wedding planned. And Mallory's like, what are you doing? She's like, it's not even fixed up yet. But so her sister's very excited about this venture that they're gonna hopefully be doing. And of course they're still trying to figure out, they themselves are trying to look and see if there is, you know, these hidden paintings that are in the house, because if there are, there's reasons for people to come in and, you know, steal them or possibly hurt them to get rid of them or get them out of the way. So the sister has met somebody, he's a real estate agent, so he's been talking to them about how much money they could make on it by selling it. And then so they kind of start dating, and then Mallory is starting not really talking to the sheriff's son, Garrett. He lives close to the property where she's at. He's also an attorney, but he, I guess, grew up with her ex-fiance. So there's kind of like some tension between the ex-fiance and Garrett about her. So yeah, so just the second half is them navigating these new relationships and friendships they're making, and while also trying to determine if there's any possibility that they are going to be able to turn the mansion into like a B&B or a wedding venue type place. Sometimes in cozies, like, they do a lot of sleuthing themselves, which she was asking questions and trying to find stuff out. But usually the main character somehow ends up finding out who the killer is and whatnot. And so there was kind of a little bit of twisties on the end of this. And she didn't actually catch the killers or find out who the killer was. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I am going to give this 4 stars. It's probably more like a 4.5. I usually don't rate cozies 5 stars. It was really good, but I don't typically like weddings, reading about weddings and wedding planning and things like that. So that's probably the only reason that I didn't give it a 5 star, but I am intrigued. So I'm intrigued to know where this is going to go. So, and if they end up doing that with this mansion. So I'm definitely going to continue in the series. Okay, the second book I'm going to pick up is Death by Committee by Alexis Morgan. After a rough divorce, Abby McCree only wants to stitch up her life and move on, but other loose ends appear after her elderly Aunt Sybil passes away, leaving Abby to tend to the rundown estate, complete with a slobbery mastiff of questionable pedigree and a sexy tenant who growls more than the dog. As Abby gets drawn into a tight-knit quilting guild, she makes a twisted discovery. Aunt Sybil's only known rival is buried in her backyard. So I did already start this morning, and I'm about 3 chapters in. So it's basically has started. She's at the estate. Her aunt is passed away, so she's at the estate. And so some of the aunt's friends are around, and of course they have talked her into filling in on the aunt's chair in like a committee thing for like the elderly. And the sexy tenant that is mentioned in the back of this book is, his name is Trip. So it starts out, he's mowing the lawn with his shirt off, and all the old ladies are just gawking at him through the window. But so it was just kind of comical. He's kind of gruff. He's a little rough around the edges, like not real like personable, but apparently he's sexy. So there's some overgrown like berry bushes or something that they can't figure out how to get rid of. And so the tenant mentions that he'd heard that goats can eat it, and that they can hire a guy to bring over his goats and gate them off, and then they'll eat like all this stuff away. And so that's what they do, and that's when the body is discovered. The goats are digging up, eating, and then part of this quilt comes out, and then they start digging and find a dead body. So that's where I'm at. We've just discovered the body. So I will be back with updates. Hello. I'm back with an update. It is late. I'm so tired. So I meant to come back with an update on this at like halfway point today. I only have 50 pages left, but I'm not going to be able to finish it tonight. So I was waiting to see if I would be able to do an update tonight before bed. But so I got about halfway through, and then by the time I got off work, I had to leave and go to the gym. So I'm doing a read along this week for another book. And I realized I hadn't read, because I've been reading my cozy all day, I hadn't read my chapters that I needed to get read for that. So I paused reading my cozy so that I could read those. I did not come back with an update, so I'm going to update you now. So the body that was found, the last time I updated you, the body was found. So the body, which we know from the back of the book, is her aunt's like rival. And obviously they think that the aunt killed her because she's in the aunt's yard. A lot of the book is just her hearing stories and a bunch of gossip and talking to her friends about like what happened. And apparently this lady was not like missed, because there's, I guess, a lot of times that she just goes off the grid for a while. So that's why, I guess, why nobody like said she was missing. She's only been gone a few months, is what they determined, that she had only been in the ground for a few months. So she's working with the quilting guild girls. I say girls, they're women, older women. She's working with these older ladies in trying to raise money, because I guess they make quilts to give away. Like they may make lap blankets for kids in the hospital or elderly in the hospital. So they have to have money to get the materials to make these quilts. So they're having a big garage sale. So Abby is helping organize all of this. So they have this big garage sale, and then just basically her hearing all the gossip from everybody in the town. So apparently her aunt and the dead lady had a big fight before, and everybody heard it. So she's trying to find some missing quilts. I'm not going to tell you why, because that would maybe ruin some of the book for you. So she's just kind of doing a little sleuthing for that. And then she's had a couple of threats made on her. So obviously Trip, who's the tenant, he lives on the property. So he's there to protect her and has been, you know, staying with her and helping her figure stuff out. There's a dog butt for you. Hey, what are you doing? Yeah, so anyway, so her and Trip are talking and kind of hanging out and getting to know each other. So that's all that's really going on. Like, I am enjoying the book okay enough. I don't know that I'm enjoying it enough to continue in it. And I don't know that the last 50 pages is going to change my mind on that. So I'm going to finish this in the morning, and I will be back and let you know my final thoughts. And then I will start my final book for this vlog. Good morning. I am back with my update. I finished this book and I think I'm still going to stay at a 3-star. While I did enjoy this book, it's not one that like really blew me away. So there was a lot of interactions between her and Trip, the tenant, which makes sense because he lives there. But I think I would have liked a little more interaction with some of her aunt's friends that are in the quilting guild. So we did get a little bit of it and we got a little bit of the gossip, but I kind of would have liked a little more background. I enjoyed the parts where the ladies were talking about why the aunt and her arch enemy, like why they kind of had a riff with each other and like the stories behind that. They just were kind of quick and didn't really get a lot of that. I did enjoy the last 50 pages. Like it was fun and it was a lot of action and finding out who the killer was, which I did kind of suspect that it was who it was not early on, but like before we got to the reveal. I think I'm finding that I prefer food themed cozies. So those are just like my favorite. I'm not into quilting, so I guess I just don't really have a desire to continue to read about quilting. As we all know, there are a ton of cozies out there. So this could be a fabulous cozy series for somebody, and I hope you love it if you want to pick this up. I am just being picky about which cozies that I prefer to pick up. So the third one I'm going to pick up is A Killer Read by Erica Chase. This is an Ashton Corners book club mystery. So love a good book club, so hopefully this will be one I like. Reading specialist and mystery book lover Lizzie Turner was excited for the first meeting of the Ashton Corners Mystery Readers and Cheese Straw Society hosted in Molly Matthews' old southern mansion. But she didn't expect the gathering to become the scene of an actual murder. A stranger has been shot and nobody knows who the victim is or how Molly's antique gun came to be used as the murder weapon. As the plot becomes all too real, the police chief, Lizzie's former high school crush, steps in to investigate. Then Lizzie begins finding mysterious manuscript chapters in her mailbox, and Molly surfaces as the next name on the killer's list. I will be back with updates. I'm back with an update. I think I'm gonna DNF this book. I'm just not having a good time with this. So I made it to a page 102. So last night I read through to page 75 and I was falling asleep through the last like 15 pages or so that I was reading. And then, so this morning I tried to pick it back up and I did make it to 102, but I was like skimming the last 4 or 5 pages of that. I just am bored. Like, I just don't care about any of these people or about who was killed or anything that's going on with that. I think this is the first cozy that I might be DNFing. I may have DNF'd one before, but I just, like I said, this year I have too many books that I want to read or that are on my TBR for me to waste any time reading books that I'm just not having a good time with. So, I'm not having a good time with this. So one of the ladies, it's like a historical house, and so it's like a big like mansion type house, and so they hold like literary meetings there, town meetings, book clubs, like whatever. She just lets people come in her house. And while they were in book club, there was just some random guy that was in the hallway. When somebody went to the bathroom and was like, there's a guy in your hallway. He says he's having car problems and he needs to use the phone, which seems weird. Like, why does he not have a phone? He was real vague about like everything. Like when they asked him, they're like, I didn't catch your name. He's like, I didn't say, you know, and like, so they know nothing about this guy. Very secretive. He goes in the other room, makes this call, and they're like eavesdropping, trying to hear, and they kind of catch, you know, a little bit of the conversation, and it doesn't sound like he's calling a tow truck. So they tell him to come in and sit down while he waits for his tow truck, and he's there for a little bit, and then he's like, I gotta go. He's killed. They find him in his car. The murder weapon is from this lady's historical house. So everybody that's in this book club is obviously a suspect because he was killed at the time they were having this book club with a weapon that was in this house. But of course, she's like, anybody could have taken this like anytime. And then there's some other things that are missing in the house. And then we're just following Lizzie. I can't tell you how many times it mentions that she's going to go for a run in the morning. Or when Molly, the lady that owns the historical house, is having like cake or muffins or whatever, she's like, oh, I'm trying to watch my weight. Now I gotta run further. Like, we don't care. We don't care about you having to run your muffins off. But anyway, and then it just kind of follows her like at her job, like, and I don't even know what her job is. I think she just observes classes to see how the children are like reacting to the learning, and then she might do like tutoring and stuff. I just don't care. So to recap my books I read for this, I have Engaged in Death by Stephanie Blackmore. Really enjoyed this. Going to continue in the series. I have A Death by Committee by Alex Morgan. This was a pretty good read. I enjoyed it, but it's not a theme that I am really interested in or would want to continue reading. So I am not going to continue in this series, and I'm going to unhaul this. And then I am DNFing this and unhauling this. So that is my wrap up for these 3 cozies. Have you read any of these cozies? Did you enjoy them? Let me know in the comments. I think my next round that I'm going to do a food themed one because I'm just ready for some food themed cozies. So I'm going to look and go through my mom's books. I know there are some that are food themed. I want to do the noodle shop one, so I think that's for sure going to be on this next one. So I may do that. I may do the noodle shop, a bakery one. I'm thinking the Ellie Alexander one because I want to get to that. And then maybe the food truck one. Yeah, I think that's going to be my next one. So stay tuned for that. And until my next video, friends, be yourself, be awesome, be kind. Bye.